That comes straight out of Sherhart Dictionary, I can promise you that.
I texted him back and I understand.
Yeah.
I think he probably sent him the exact same message. That's what
Yeah.
I sent him. He said he just told his parents the same thing. We gotta negotiate, we gotta keep doing.
I don't have anybody for invocation, because this is a special call, and I just left it there. So maybe Mr. Phil, or one of y'all, or
So I wonder if
we could all gather.
if their cell is contingent.
Do you have a good
upon
Thanksgiving?
development,
I was telling her,
Must be
we
because
did get to
they're
go
so
to
concerned about it.
Brownwood State Park.
or- I
Okay.
should have asked me that today.
Yeah. No,
I
yeah.
lived in our property in 1971 when I got out of the army the first time. We rented it, we had those 3 apartments right there.
Right, yeah.
Where the bend in the road is. I was in the first apartment for almost a year. And that road's no better now than it was.
Right.
No.
Then it's just a barely a gravel road, not even a full paved road. You can't see any of it on the highway. This idea about putting in a wall.
So, yeah.
Is that why he wasn't
First
here,
I've heard of
the 8th?
this
No, he was at
hide it from
Okay.
the commercial district.
he was in White Oak.
It's gonna drive.
Oh,
it's gonna
okay.
drive into the traffic. I suspect if you got it and I got it, everybody got the same text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called him, so, because I wasn't sure, and he said that
Oh, yeah.
everything east of the house is county property. The city doesn't even have it.
You remember it.
That house that put along the the only thing the city is
It's from there in 471.
that half mile, in the ETJ.
Hi. Well, like I said, I'm still pinked up. Oh, yeah.
Is that their original?
I think that's Darren's.
The jacket?
I think that's Darren's.
Aaron, you just took over the whole thing.
It's either a Jaguar or a Audi. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's actually a Audi.
Oh, good.
Probably Beverly's parents.
Yeah, okay.
Down from it, and my sister moved in, she stepped in a hole. She texted me today and said she didn't break her.
She severely sprained it.
No, she cracked.
How you doing?
Oh,
How are you doing?
She said, I stepped on it, she said, I felt it, she said, hopefully it's not hurt.
Hey, the Aggies won a game.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Once you do the ankle,
I know,
My brother-in-law and his daughter, my niece.
oh, yeah. Oh, trust me. Okay.
I was over there for the tailgate ported it that morning at my brother's house, and then I drove home. Made it home in time
Oh,
to
yeah.
watch the game.
Okay.
They sent a
Yeah. Oh,
picture late that
yeah. We
evening.
understand.
He's got one of the old original.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
TV or the.
Yeah, well, yesterday I was doing laundry
So they took a
and started
picture of
to
the last
get
time,
hot
the final
and
score.
sweaty, and so the hives flared up. So I went
No,
over and
they-
turned up. Yeah, oh yeah,
My son is with a mechanical engineering firm that PSO.
oh yeah.
So he volunteered
Well,
to.
I was folding up paper towel and saturating it and head down. And then I do the arms, you know, and I can't take baths yet.
So it
But I
actually
found
helped him because
Aveeno
they got
has
some
an
good
oatmeal
numbers
body
and
wash, so I've been using that, and it helps settle down the. But oh my god! So I hear Joe and Christopher. They're like, stop itching, stop itching. And it's on my back also, so I go find a
It was
corner of the
right on
house, and I'm
hospital
going.
when they did one
And I get the stop itching.
Robert Mitchum and.
So I go, I get another paper towel, fold it up, and saturate it, reapply.
Yeah.
Until it's,
Yeah,
because they were able to get what's external off as far as the dermatome. So the stuff that was inside, underneath the skin, you gotta wait for that to deteriorate.
They had to.
And so until that happens, I'm pinked
Story
up,
out after
as I
the
tell
Alabama
people.
game last year was one of the ones like the how much it would cost us.
I'm slow and I'm pinked up, but we're good.
Yeah, they They need to hold back and make sure it's something worth getting on the field or.
Somebody be out there this year, and then the second or third time.
Tennessee being.
Yeah, so it was 102,000 this time, so.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. 40-something. I know, it's like something the group's different. Well, we were going to Brentwood, like I said, and we got to camp, but needless to say, it was very cold. High of like 40-something. I think one day got 52. And then yesterday it was very nice when we left.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice again tomorrow, and then another cold front's coming in.
Yeah. So it was,
Yeah, they said we're supposed to go have a plummet again because of cold fronts coming in tomorrow evening. So we're back down to a high of 50. It's like,
well,
well,
and you know,
Phil.
good
Yes, sir.
This is for
So
Paulette.
it was nice.
Oh, it's been sitting in my
I
office
was
and,
wondering,
yeah,
we will get that to her.
thank you.
And-
Invite her back.
In case she calls you like a couple of years from now and says, where's that package? She just forgot that she got it. Those are cute.
You should invite her back to come and get it and we'll take her to dinner.
Yeah, we'll do that.
She was fun,
She's a nice lady.
super nice.
So we get her to bring Tom Hanks with her.
There you go.
Now, is this the same one, or is you found it, or is this you went for because you never found it?
Like I said, we had 2 of them left,
Oh, okay.
and I told you about it, and they've been sitting over in my office for the last.
So I got to make a last minute trip last night.
Just never.
It wasn't that late. It was, we were taking her at 3:30 to get on
And
a
Leroy
bus.
had exactly
4:30. And she looked at her, she has this bus tracker, she looked and said, oh, it's gone. She had gotten her time
Friday
right.
night.
oh no.
She did it. All right, well, I guess we didn't leave that instant because I was like, I'm not ready to go for a flight. We're going to take care of some things.
What is
I'll
that?
be back.
Friday.
And then we
There's something wrong.
8 hours.
Friday and Saturday.
Nerve-wracking.
No, I think that we might be doses. Carrie's been talking to, I guess,
Good Lord, RJ.
Yeah, now, can we go? Can we go? Can we go? Yeah, it's like, Lord, we want rain.
sometimes we gotta divide the conversation.
Careful what you ask for.
That's right.
Friday night.
Oh boy, another whole thing.
How you doing?
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Now this one's for the 13th.
The one Friday night, Fort in our one of the guys that's been hired by James, he came in there to say hi to everybody. Very, you know, he's been in career and got out, did something else whenever James came where they were.
Come think of it. Somebody will have to do the invocation because I don't have a preacher for the special. I just left it on because sometimes I take it off and sometimes I
Since
put it on.
when? How long?
Thank you.
How long have you been here?
Almost 2 months.
Okay. I'll introduce Detective Newton in just a second.
I swore him in a while back.
What's the other police officer? The one that just got hired recently.
Why would you do that to me?
I swore one in this morning.
He was at, he stopped by the court and screw and had drinks with us. He came in and said he was on the roof on Friday night.
Who did you swear in this
When
morning?
James was hired,
He didn't start officially yet with it, so Mike Baker from Bendel.
Mike Baker?
No, he hadn't started yet.
Oh.
He just qualified today and then I swore him in this morning. I think he'll be on the staff.
I have a couple of new
Friday.
faces. we did a,
Big guy like me.
we did our potluck, our Thanksgiving potluck, and as part of that, I had everybody stand up and say your name and the department you're with and how long you were with the city. And I didn't count, but I would venture that at least 75% of the people there have been with the city for 3 years or less, and 50% less than 2 years.
Then the old people like us, there's just two.
Well, you have a senior award, don't you?
Liz does from court. She's a couple years ahead of me. Well, no matter of fact, that day, it was 20 years the day we had our Thanksgiving lunch.
You don't realize it, but we have
And
a
I'll be
very,
there.
very young organization when it
That's
comes
right.
to tenure at the city. It's nuts.
I wonder if the new officer's name Quick, I did one, his last name's Quick.
Deborah, just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, just whenever you want to, I've got it.
He stopped in and, just he was patrolling and stopped in and because we just happened to be there, but he introduced himself to everybody and just really nice guy.
Well, good.
I like that.
Hang on one second, let me get rid of that.
What are you getting rid of?
Well, I had started recording, restart. Not that I don't want you to talk about things. Okay, get started.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order just a little bit late at 5:31. Let's start with a roll call.
Sheena Martinez, District 1.
Bill King, District 3.
Harold Stein, District 4.
Herb Dyer, District 5.
Darren Schroeder, Mayor, and Councilman Carey is not in attendance. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. First to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag.
Honor
the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Dear Lord, you're here with us. Watch over us, watch over our citizens, help the city council as it continues and strives to make good decisions for our citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Next item is citizens' comments. Do we have anybody that would like to speak for citizens' comments? All right.
I do have a presentation to make that's not on the agenda, but I'll just do it during this period if that's okay.
Please, your citizen comment. Please
yes.
state your name and address.
I do live here. I live at 122 River Knoll, and my name is Scott Dixon. Dreamflights, as you know, we have become home to their headquarters in Cashville. It's something that the airport and the city is very proud of. They recently added our new logo to their planes in 3 or 4 different places, so we have some pretty prominent kind of signage if you want to do it that way. But they recently conducted a commemorative flight for veterans and for some of our notables in our community. So I know Arnie was invited, and Priscilla and several others had the opportunity to see our fair bird from the skies. And we're very, very appreciative of them for that. And they wanted to give to the city council a kind of commemorative photo of Dreamflights and what they do. Of course, Dreamflights is a national and organization that flies veterans, mostly World War II veterans all over the country. And they use these old World War II era planes to do that. So, yeah.
Can we get a photo of that? Try to get in the paper?
Cool. Absolutely. I will be happy to do that. All right. Look at me and then look at Deborah, because now there's 2 of us.
That's okay.
And you don't know which way. No, it's not. There you
Oh, come on, Herb, lean in. He's leaning. He's like this.
go. Is that it? Or just want to get it on?
I don't know, I'll just get him going.
All right. Why is there a picture of the mayor's butt in the paper?
All right, thanks, Scott. Okay, next item, we're just going to hit this right at the beginning. The executive session, the city council will meet in closed session under provisions of the Texas Government Code, section 551.071, entitled Consultation with Attorney, and section 551.085, entitled Deliberation Regarding Economic Development Negotiations.
Under this are Cobblestone Village Development Agreement terms, NP Homes Development Agreement, Alsatian Oaks Development Water Rights Negotiations. Then, under Section 551.086, Texas Government Code Competitive Utility Matters, the City Council, as a governing body of a public power utility, will meet in closed session to discuss competitive matters, including bidding and pricing for purchased power agreements, electric power pricing information, and plans, studies, and proposals for system improvements. Under this is the LCRA power contract. Then finally, under Section 551.074, entitled Personnel Matters, to deliberate the employment evaluation duties of a public officer or employee, and this is City Administrator Contract Renewal. We're going to go into executive session at 5:35.
And live stream is still on.
That's true.
So, yeah, so then, so all that, you're just getting the news, the headlines, the news feeds, then you create this, and you can curate what is that. Yeah, but if you don't have this to handle, like, your name. Yeah, I've never, I don't think so, I've never been on.
I actually, I think I did get my name. Because I was on a waiting list first, was that?
I texted you my contact service here.
They just, this is what I would call it, part of what we do, so they just want to control. No, seriously. Good. Some affordable access. No, if you do interesting stuff, so we get a latest info check or around 10%. That one was, I don't know. Marble, just right behind you. And then, it's right across the street from the station. So they don't water. Then we have another meeting, parcel that we're just starting to work on right now. Ten one, almost 50 of them. We've been all the way to the finish line. Zoning approved. Yeah, zoning commission approved, planning commission approved. And, city council. Everything's going to the city council. Same city council, and they had, copy, bringing and driving. And same general. So, it'll be good months. On that, because there's a lot of, and the HOA complicated it as well. But,
I've seen this is your real.
Just make sure.
Go over to the Castro Holdings, which is 285. She's actually on here.
For the next 10 years, you'll be on it. So now become bus. Thank you. Look forward to cameras.
So that's
begin as
myself is to represent the other person we're talking about. All right.
See,
Let's see. I didn't hear about that. I'm probably gonna do that tonight too. I haven't done that yet.
water will come.
Supposed to be, they're supposed to get something done last week, but Christopher reminded me that it was Thanksgiving, so yeah, no, we're not doing it yet. So they're supposed to get all this, some of the stuff machined, I don't know if it's all the stuff, but a lot of the stuff machined back and ready to start moving back right now this week.
A meeting, Chad Foster,
Yeah,
you remember him?
he told you
Yeah,
probably.
really. So, he called me, I've checked up with him.
Mhm.
He called me, so they're doing a ranch, San Antonio Express is interviewing or has interviewed for the ranch realty. I don't know if they, what the article is, he said, but they wanted to do some pictures of it, I said, slow motion. Came out there, John came out, let's see how much out there. And we just started, see how you do it. Bought the, Kubota and Polaris dealership out. It says that he's happy with it, he said, larger than other people done. Especially on the Polaris.
Yeah.
They don't give you much leeway at all. So it's all just like a car, it's like a dealership. Also, is it on a brand new Polaris, maybe, we could make $500, $700, which is, they're 15 grand.
That's
And he said that can make some money on
Trades.
the attachments, the circuit, you know, the front guard, the top and stuff like that.
Windshield.
And it was the Kubota, was, I said, that's, you know, the Polaris, Kubota has a side by side. He said, it's not as nice and it's not as comfortable, but it will outlast the Polaris. So that's interesting.
You put it in it, run for that.
Well, that's what he said, and you can get a diesel one too. And he said, you'll never have a problem with that. I just thought that was interesting. He said, the Kubota's Japanese, sounds Japanese, something I didn't know. Because the car iron is good. He said that engine is their best thing. So,
We've got the road engines on our generators. One, we have one for your buildings. We have one mini pivot on the generator.
no, it was, I mean, I wanted to talk to him because he's like selling properties, just, like, about that 13 acres. He says, there's a big margin, so he's not where you have so long. But, I was read it.
They're so good.
He said he thinks the million, the smaller, say the million is small, so most we just get lost. That's where you get slow down. He said the big properties and cash buyers, they're still slowing super fast. Which was interesting. He said, yeah, I know you've seen his own business model that he used, many smart guys. So I'm looking forward to just kind of visiting with him after we're finished. And see what he says. Yeah, plans for Christmas, you guys stay home. Were you?
Yeah, no, we have, boys have two shows they're in the very end of finish Thanksgiving campaign. They gotta keep that certain mixture at a certain time and
Yellowstone?
So there's some resort, range resorts like outside of Missoula.
Right.
Some look pretty cool. And then like there's one that's on a 37,000 acre ranch that goes up in the mountains. It's northwest of Yellowstone. So, but it's river rafting and trout fishing. All that new horseback riding, ATV and shooting and wildlife sightseeing. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I've been, I'm going to Big Sky in February, Jason.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm looking forward to it, I've never been in the area.
I haven't either, but it looks beautiful.
I mean,
We've done the Canadian Rockies, and I preferred that because it didn't feel as congested. And I kind of at least read that some of the Big Sky the whole time. So it's, you got the mountains, but it's not like Colorado where you do feel
areas, yeah.
congested.
Yeah, it's a, obviously it's an app. Got a email that's supposed to, apparently you like, put your blinds and stuff, all this stuff, but they're trying to find one of the neighbors, the name of one of the neighbors. And I asked him, the one guy that parked the probably, you know, that would take 60 foot, one son was 60 feet. Like, try the other guy. So I never knew his name. And this thing he's had, I just downloaded it. It costs $29 a year to pay for it. But yeah. I found the guy's name.
They got
Yeah, no, I took a picture of it. Well, I don't have my credit card yet, so I don't know how. So keep it first.
President, you're looking for your place.
Good. Two of them are.
Has Jack cleared off everything he wants to clear off?
Deer wise? No, we'll take 4 deer. I freeze the freeze on boards come, the last 2 days, or the last week we took 2.
Can you tell me when your longhorns died?
But remember you looked down, which is it?
Yeah, he
And he gained his weight back. I'm gonna make it warms.
Maybe.
Because he gained his weight back in the summer, he looked skinny again. He put warm block out there, just it's like soft block. That's what I tried. That was good. They, it wouldn't hurt anybody, it wouldn't hurt horse, it wouldn't hurt.
No, I think they sell them as combined. You can get blocks and combined horse and cow. But the other ones, you put over down the back, you ain't doing that.
I'd like to horse it. But they get that, let him, and let him go.
Yeah.
I've seen it through, it's cotton seed for after the light. They're playing with, what's it? With that. So that's, it's this with violence.
Who's the graduate?
Straight. No, some. He's got his oldest classes lined up for straight, and then he's got several good day. But it'll be big. In a perfect world, we would have finished it back. And so that only happened next year summer. So that.
So he'll be starting with you.
No, then he's been offered a guy in Idaho for help. And then he's going to, he wants to do that. He's going to send off offers to East in Nebraska and Kansas. Then he'll probably come back here to finish with crane season. And then get through the new year and start somewhere.
So take the last 6 months off, or 4 months, whatever.
Yeah. And, you know, about, so maybe January, February. And got the rest of the life to work. And he knows that after graduation, he's nothing from me.
Yeah.
So if he can make it on his own for 6 months, 7 months, you go for it. We're just trying to figure out where Josie's going to go at. When she's finishing her, she finishes in May. And she's been accepted at a couple of places, but not everywhere. But she hasn't got to work back from everywhere.
What's your study?
What does she want to study? Marketing.
Another one at TCU, or still offers it?
She never want to be the little sister, which I don't like her. And, but they want to go to Texas instead of going to go back. So, next choice is go to Colorado, go to Kansas. And I think sort of fun at St. Mary when we go to Fort Worth, but I make some motions, but at the same time, I guess they need to go into the, one of her friends is going, is the accepted. She likes that skiing so much, she's in Colorado.
Talk to Mark Steele about that.
Yeah. Why did it go particularly?
No, he didn't last very long.
Well, Chris Woodhouse daughter goes there. And we're going in January, Scott and President's Day weekend.
We usually do Passover.
Christmas, yeah, but they don't want to miss, they want to be home for a personal birthday, December 20th, every year for 2 years. Christian starts January 3rd. High school. Yeah, so.
You're gonna bring that to the league, and we'll talk about it. The 3-day event, talk is street farm.
Oh, boy, I did talk about that, yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
I did, by the way, critical, those type of critical, just to let you guys look at that. I'll go look. And Friday's like, this Friday, back part, like ladders against the wall and wires hanging in. Someone just step back there and you
Yeah.
can see it there, do something.
Yeah.
I mean, like set back protocol, just.
Right, you load the ladder in the back of your truck,
But, you know, in today's world, it will.
yeah.
But the front is still good, the side, and then so has it.
Well, we're still, I mean, it's,
Still working on it, I understand.
our big one was the city let us put a dumpster behind this building. John let us put a dumpster in the parking lot behind us.
So that's,
So that's a big win, so we don't have a bunch of stinky trash out there on the parking lot.
what would it have to be for good?
Well, okay, so you know, you walk along, and there are all those trash cans that were right there in the alley. It's right in front of the alley. And so it's just, I mean, it's not very
Attractive.
bad, it'd be rotting food and stuff outside the store, cottage door, and that's not good either. So,
This is a nice addition for the city.
but now, what are you doing this weekend? Ever bring that old fashioned Christmas right now?
Well, you know, I saw that in Bernie, I was wondering what, in Bernie, in the newspaper, they have Christmas trails on, I guess last weekend, this past weekend, I had pictures of it. In downtown Bernie, where it was.
It's just kind of the same thing, it's, vendors on Santa Claus coming, lights the tree, and they've got carolers. Friday night, and then on Saturday, it's just like all the crafts.
My plan is to be down there anyway Friday night.
Well, there's a lot of people around here, and I mean, it'll get you excited about what next year's gonna be like.
Right, no, that, Nicholas is talking about, wanting to come down and that was just there might be Nicholas,
How's he enjoying fatherhood?
Yes, when we went to the Texas Tech game, did that Kentucky game with his wife, so a weekend there. Yeah, probably put off the baby, William, they're still on children, well, William, Bill, it's cute, yeah, just, all Western.
Yeah.
So I think they'd have another one. Relatives,
Yeah.
Wayne was supposed to, next week or so, but we did this.
And that's from last week, he said it's been close.
There's, I would say fights, by, but you know, contractor, Karen said, you told us we'd be in by Thanksgiving. We're still not in, we better get progress, Mr. West, get involved with it.
Well, I've never had a building project that ended with me on speaking terms with contractor. I'm afraid we got John Hobson wound up too tight now.
Well, I don't know, I mean, it's like, I just, don't know the books. And I was going in, you know, every time you say you stranded, and we're doing what you guys say.
Yeah.
But then I hear something, Dan or Wiley or Bob said, John, those are okay with this. And I never got that impression from John.
Not a single time.
But I just feel like some things I don't care. If everyone's keeping, I didn't know that was who I was in place.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for the people that are putting out their body. They can renew it. I think they also know that it's not done.
Oh,
What they come in.
Exactly. It's a hell of a hammer. You're not gonna renew it? Okay. I'll draw it.
And today is, you're ready to review it, of course, when they found it, that term, will he had the city's call?
Yeah, it's a direct bill or code. And so that's like Will Collins, who was the position of the council and delivered them to the water. And he could call in the village.
So you just hold it in, so that's good for 2 years, I'll have an expiration date. One of the, in the deal is that they have to.
Just figure it out.
Yeah.
They're over their limit, and they're not find it. So they gotta go find it. Just because they
Yeah, them, financially, I mean, liability, right?
they don't have one who's still not compliant. But if they deliver one to us, and it's conditioned on our performing with the annexation and bid, then that was the deal that we said we would do.
Yeah.
Then they put it into escrow, and as soon as we do that, it releases and it comes to us.
And you said it, and we put it in escrow condition. I didn't realize once we had the condition, then it's all ours, for our control.
Right. And then we possess it, we got 2 years to go through whatever, we'll live renew it. But I'll tell you, that thing is.
Charges unbelievable. I think it was 1.5% or 2%.
And that's on top of the.
And it's renewable, it has to be renewed tonight.
They charged him on that $15 million, 2% origination. They took $750,000.
In addition to the loans. You said what a good relationship you have with them. I'm the bank, I'd keep that relationship. Yeah, those were great.
Sam's is still open on Monday.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's pretty much it.
I ate it, still talking about on Saturday.
That wasn't.
That's not ever that's the, I only eat 2 things there.
Yeah.
Brian remember going in the old days when they have to buffet at lunch.
That was a long time.
And he's actually stayed out there with his old girlfriend. That's,
It's gotten a lot nicer.
but I'm telling that, I like hot roast again. It's so good.
Yeah.
2 for 2 there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get hot roast the next time it's not very good.
Both times it did.
Both times it's
Did you
good.
get the deviled eggs appetizer?
No, is that?
Really good, did.
I was by myself. I was watching the Texas Tech game. They ran up there half an hour or something. I'm going to just say quickly, go back. That's the one drawback that I have conditions.
Yeah.
I can do things,
Right.
but even grill, of course I can grill, but then I guess charcoal and everything else.
Well, you're pretty 10 minutes from town.
Well, 10 minutes to mine, 20 minutes.
It's 20 years.
By the time I leave, the kids get to the game.
Yeah.
Come up.
What are you gonna put on that again?
So finally, that's what Mary was at.
You don't realize how aggravating it is if they have a gatos that are just on work, you can't get out.
Or if it's raining. How much rain is it up the trail?
So, Tim Hildenbrand, one of the 4 guys, the 4 partners, he's on high, and it's almost no people money will spend on. So he's part of the millionaire jet fund, the private, private fractional interest, whatever it is, will not have the opportunity. So his wife comes in after last night, visiting her old age. The lot was frozen, and she was beating it with a rock that was laying by the fence that we specifically found next to the fence to keep the lock in it ever frozen.
How much was your own gate?
Which one? I got 4 of them. They're about $2,500. You know who sells them?
install them.
Yeah.
But can it be the work solar? Maybe put a battery.
Yeah, there's a battery in the front of it. They all, that's, they all are.
All solar. Yeah, the thing is, I can't put them up there. I know, but then what's, you know, if I show up, I hit that button.
But you need the line. If
How do you
someone,
get in yours? Press the button.
well, you know, you can, this has a lock on it. You can activate that or not, so it's, you can disengage the button. But if someone wants to get into your place that bad, yeah, they'll have a bolt cutter just to do this, they'll push the page.
Is what the girls would like. There's, you know, I'm the guy, I'm the guy that sits in the truck. I don't mind everything going out there, but apparently, when Mary's inside, yeah, passenger seat. Okay, we'll get this. Dad, we're gonna get electric mirrors. All right, so you do know about it. Okay, my one, I want it home. And house,
Yeah.
back in the front.
Yeah.
So, I worked pressing the button, I'm working. That was the battery, I replaced the battery a couple of years ago. I brought it into the storage, put it on, had plenty of those, on battery. It still has electricity into it. There's a plug you reason.
Okay.
Why do you need batteries, there's electricity?
Well, that's easy.
Actually, most of these guys.
So much. Oh, I gotta call you. I saw something you got listed that I need to talk to you about. I said, I gotta call you later. What's that? It might be boring. I'll give you a call. Okay. Cool.
On Saturday. Yeah. So it's Friday evening, kick off, and Saturday.
I have 171 minutes. Don't take all of it.
Don't take all of it.
Please, I'll go get another battery.
So how's it going over there?
Two old guys had to stop.
Love it. We should do that more often. We should have done it slower.
You need to get in or out, most people know.
Get sit down, Cal. It's for the 13th.
No.
Yeah, there'll be a public hearing for the turtle.
Say that again?
I just
Todd got the, I think he got 4 skunks. Travis and Todd got another one yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Still looking to go to. And it was trying to make a nest in his garage.
In Todd's garage?
It had already eaten through the drywall and had pulled out.
What
the
was it?
insulation.
Oh my God.
Skunk.
well, you know, it takes one to know. No, I'm
But I was gonna say, tell Todd that I said it's the birds of the feather flock together.
Yeah.
He was,
Wow.
I'm surprised he didn't blow a hole in his.
Yeah, I know.
It's so funny. He would laugh.
Friends like these.
We can joke with him about that.
I apologize to everybody for this.
You're good.
No worries. Okay, you ready? All right, we are going to reconvene at 7:18. I'm sorry, one moment. All right. Next item, consider possible actions resulting from items posted and legally discussed in executive session. I believe that there are none from this. They're in individual items. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So no action taken. Next item, consider and take appropriate action on an ordinance authorizing the city to enter into a development agreement with Castroville Holdings Company, LTD, and McCoy Jones Ventures, LLC, and ordaining other matters in connection therewith.
I don't think we have further discussion.
Yep.
You did, in executive session, we reviewed the development agreement as it's been proposed. There are a couple of items, very minor, that need to be submitted, and we will get those to you as quickly as possible. It's the land plan and a little bit of language about the thoroughfare planning efforts.
Clay Benford representing the city. I was going to say the exact same thing that you did. The only modifications to what's in your package is some language regarding that parcel for accessing Highway 90, which we've already agreed to the language, and the only outstanding items are the two exhibits, the consultant's plan and the land plan, and Scott has given commentary to the engineering team for the developer, and the only condition is that we get those modified as requested to supplement and complete what's before you.
So the, you had a question? I was going to ask, so the motion then would be to approve the development agreement pending the two remaining, or?
Subject to final exhibits to the satisfaction of the city administrator.
Okay, so the motion then would be to approve it, subject to the, say that one more time?
The final exhibits.
Final
exhibits.
To the satisfaction of the city administrator.
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Great, thank you. Next item, discussion and possible action on calling a public hearing designating an area within its corporate city limits as Reinvestment Zone Number 2, City of Castroville, Texas, Downtown Commercial District for tax increment financing purposes.
So we are calling a public hearing for the December 13th meeting. No, yes, December 13th meeting, Callie. I will not be present at the meeting, as I said a couple of times, but this is to establish a downtown TERS. The purpose of that would be to allow for the incremental reinvestment in our beloved downtown, and to accomplish specific projects like Houston Square improvements, some minor improvements potentially to September Square, landscaping and lighting and other aspects in the downtown area. And all of that will be presented as part of the TERS on the 13th. So some of that's already been discussed between staff and the consultants, but we need to publish a public hearing and have that public hearing and then adopt the TERS. So the goal would be to have the public hearing on the 13th and then also adopt the TERS on the 13th. The reason this may seem, it hopefully doesn't seem rushed, but the reason that we're trying to do this before the end of the year is to capture some of the value. We were aware that there's been a couple of different improvements made. You have the old Henry Castro house that's been improved, but also the Elsis Hall. I think Respec was probably too late, that building. So we'll capture the Respec building, and then obviously Dan's Meat Market, the Rainbow Theater, some of these other things that are in process. Trying to get it done before the end of the year will allow us to capture some of that incremental improvement in value.
I may have missed that meeting, but is that any, to actually approve that, do we have to have just simple majority? Correct.
Yeah. So as long as there's 3 of you here.
So I think the motion there is to call a public hearing on December 13th, designating an area within our corporate city limits as a reinvestment zone number 2, City of Castroville, Texas, downtown commercial district for tax increment financing purposes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Any discussion?
Yes. On page 4, there's a correction. You have Todd Shearhart listed instead
okay.
of
That's Sir
Harold.
Stein?
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be for the members of the TERS board. We're proposing that it be the same as the city council. So we'll get that corrected. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Glad we had the draft in here.
Good catch. Okay. Any further discussion? All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Great, thank you. All right, next item, presentation by Samco Capital Markets on the plan of finance for the 2023 utility system financing and council authorizing city staff, financial advisor, and bond counsel to pursue the financing and other matters related thereto.
Yes. Thank you, Clay.
Cool. Thanks, Clay.
So for this, we have 2 representatives from Samco, who's the city's financial advisor, Mark McCliney, who you've met before, and Ryan, who is, I don't know if he's a new member of the team, but certainly new to Castroville.
Ryan
Cunningham. All right.
Do you want to prep it any more?
No, that's as much prep as I'm capable of doing at the moment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Mark McCliney with Samco Capital Markets, and Ryan Cunningham's handing these items out. You all have an outstanding CIP, capital improvement plan for the utility system. You may recall last year when we sold our $10 million CO, some of it was for, $5 million of it was for utility. We had more bonds, more plans to issue COs in the future. So what we're looking at here, and we're going to go through the numbers briefly, but I wanted to go through the calendar because we're going to start having action items December 13th, which will be a notice of intention resolution. As a reminder, that is when you notice the projects to your voters. City Council will authorize a notice of intention resolution to make utility system improvements for the city of Castroville in an amount not to exceed, right now our plan is $5 million. That would get posted 2 weeks in a row, and basically 45 days later, 46 days later, City Council would take action to authorize the certificates of obligation. So instead of coming to you on December 13th and saying, oh, we're doing a notice of intention resolution, we want to kind of go through the whole process with you today so that on December 13th, you know exactly what we're doing and what's planning. So if you look at the calendar, the timetable, December 13th is really the next item, but you go all the way down, our actual bond sale, the second line item from the bottom, would be February 14th. And as a general law city, we would need supermajority, and that's a regularly scheduled meeting. And we would get interest rates on that day. And I will tell you right now, they're not going to be as good as the interest rates were a year ago when we sold the COs. But they're still going to be attractive interest rates compared to what we've done in the past. December 14th, money would be here March 15th is the current schedule. So the utility system improvements on the second handout, and there's a couple of things I want to point out. On the bottom, we went through, and this is going to be a little confusing, but on the far left on the bottom box, there was $5 million certificates of obligation. That's what we had last year. That's what we sold. For 2023, for 2022, we had planned a total projects of $2,969,000 plus 2023 going the next line over $5,477,000. So the combined of those amounts, and we're taking out the gas and the drainage, puts us over the $5 million that we borrowed a year ago. So we're going to do this $5 million borrowing. The second red number, we're after completion, we will have used $3,447,000 of the $5 million, of this new $5 million. So some of this is going to roll into the 2024 projects, just like the CO we did last year. Now go to the top. So we have our existing debt service, second column from the left. This is only debt service that's supported by the utility system. So we add in the proposed 2023, $5 million, which is roughly $415,000 a year. In theory, now I say in theory because City Council would have to approve it. We would have to do a notice of intention again. We would have to review the CIP again. But in theory, the 2024, you would come back with $3,300,000. And in 2025, we're talking about another $4,400,000. This is all from your CIP. Looking out, going forward. So all those numbers, you take it to the far right-hand column, and you get in total debt service. That's with phase 2. That we're not going to talk about the yellow. That's adding in the phase 2 of the water tower. That's all going to be delayed for a year or two. But the total debt, just to the left of the yellow, is the number our utility system would have to support. So I bring this up. Eventually, we're going from roughly $1,400,000 to $2,700,000. But we have lots of projects in that CIP. This City Council is going to have to approve each new tranche. Anytime growth slows, we may be able to push the 24 or 25 bond out a year. We want to see what the revenues are, the connections, the impact fees that we're getting. So this is a moving and changing document, but we wanted to let you know that we're looking at it based off of the CIP, off of your current CIP for the utility system. The 2023 issue can be issued, can be afforded. We sent these numbers to Ramsey. He confirmed that on the utility rate studies and what the utility system is generating. As we get to 2024 and we get closer to determining if you want to pursue the next set of bonds, we'll get it back to Ramsey. We'll be reviewing your audits. We'll be checking those numbers to make sure we're not getting you up over your skis, so to speak. So this is just like Scott went through a year ago. We have a CIP going forward and no plans this year immediately for general fund projects. This is the next set. Then we'll be looking at utility or general fund projects perhaps next year. So all of this is a moving target as you refine the CIP. We look at your audit, see how those numbers are, see what's coming in at Alsatian Oaks. All those are moving targets, but right now with the $5 million CIP or 2023 issue, this one we're talking about, everything looks good and we're still meeting all our requirements. Scott, you and I've talked about it. You've looked at it. Is there anything I'm missing in the conversation?
Not really. I mean, I know the questions in the minds of the council will probably be, well, what the CIP, what's in there, right? So, and that's a conversation we haven't had yet, and we're supposed to have probably at the beginning of the year. I would expect in January we'll have that conversation. But it's not a lot. $5 million, unfortunately, while it may sound like a lot to a lot of folks, it's really just barely anything when you talk about trying to do some kind of meaningful utility project. So some of that is going to go to cover some of what we've already started, frankly. So we've committed to some of these things, and I committed in time frames to make sure we had enough money to pay. But you know, we're already committing to some of these projects now. Part of that will go to a major water line improvement on the in the historic part of town, actually just north of here along San Jacinto. There's about a $1.6 million water project needs to happen there. And then there's just a miscellaneous and a sundry items that the staff can share with you at that planning session we're going to have in January. But part of this is, again, to time the receipt of money so that we don't get into a situation where we're writing checks that we can't cover. And we aren't in that situation now. We're not even in danger of it, unfortunately, because of supply chain issues. If supply chain issues weren't a problem, I'd actually be maybe sweating just a little bit, because we've committed to the AMI project, we've committed to the River Bluff project. We spent about, and I believe I shared all this with you already. It's out on your team site, but you can actually see what the balance is of how much we spent against our bond issue. So you can see where we're standing. I want to say on the utility fund side, we've spent $3 million of what we borrowed. So we borrowed $5 million for 1 year. So we spent about $3 million of that, and we've committed over I want to say we've committed 5.7. So about 700,000 of this 5 million would actually go to paying for projects that we've already committed to. I don't know what else to share.
So I had a question on this, and this I just thought of. So this, I know that the way that you look at this is our current cost, our current revenue, and then the assumed increase as we grow. Did you also include it in the franchise fees that would be associated over the subsequent years that are coming in for like CPS utilities in the eastern side?
Such a small amount, I did not. It's dollar-wise, it's a pretty minor amount, 20 grand, 30 grand. So, no.
That's currently, but that's not as they start putting on a lot of new meters.
Yeah, but looking at the pace of growth,
Yeah.
That's the thing is, if anything, I'm being a lot more conservative about the pace of growth than trying to account for all that stuff. 'Cause
Well, that was kind of my point with
close
it.
to rooftops. Yeah.
I appreciate you doing it like that, because there will be that additional money that's coming in from there with no expense associated with it. So I just wanted to make sure that it sounded like you had not included that with it, which makes it very conservative, which I think is very positive.
Something else. Oh, so the other thing to know is, like, on the drainage side, and we'll have a separate presentation on this, I think, also at the beginning of the year it'll coincide with that CIP. We now have the drainage study. It's just about done. And the cost of those projects is astronomical. It's ridiculous how expensive they're estimating some of those costs are. And we'll find out how close engineers are notoriously conservative. They sandbag like hell. But they're usually not that far off. And they're talking about really big numbers that I don't know. So anyway, that's a separate discussion, just so you know. There's two other debt issues. There's this one is all utilities. Not talking about spending any money in general fund. This is all utilities. So when we issued that debt, we issued general fund and utility fund debt. The general fund was supposed to cover 2 years. That's why he's saying next year you'll probably issue some general fund debt, maybe. And that would be a continuance. If we can afford it, we would continue to do streets and parks and that kind of thing. But this is just utility fund debt. The other issue that besides future general fund and future utility fund debts that we may issue would be this drainage utility. But it's kicking off, I think, $250,000. No, I can't remember. Anyway, I can't remember what I told you, the amount I told you, but it's kicking off, the amount of money is kicking off as far as the annual payments that people make on their utility bills to the drainage utility are nowhere even near adequate to cover even one of our priority projects. So we have to talk
It's $5
about that.
a
Yeah. So that'll be another fun
But those
conversation.
bonds come up next year?
Those fall off next year. Is that right? Drainage
Yeah, I was
utility falls
looking
off
at it.
next
I've
year,
got that right here. I think it's over here.
So that'd be a third set of bonds that go forward.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, you have the utility one we're issuing now. The good news is we've got enough revenue to pay for them, and we don't anticipate that going anywhere, so we feel like this is a safe investment to make at this time. We will see if next year we're in a position to issue additional debt or not. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if we were to go as it's planned right now, you're talking about more or less doubling the amount of debt service. That's a tremendous load to put on a system if we don't have growth, if growth doesn't pick up. So we won't be able to do that, right? I mean, that's just the facts. But we'll see. We'll see how where we are in 2 years or 3 years. I don't think that we're headed off a cliff as far as development goes. I think that there is going to be some demand, static demand. And we do have some product here that's a little different that isn't being as affected. The Country Village development, for instance, is in that 700 plus category. And the $700,000+ homes don't seem to be as affected by the market, believe it or not. it's really the entry level that, it's the 300 to 450 range that you can't sell them right now because people can't afford them.
One other thing, with the planning that we did, your general fund debt service drops from 2023, the year we're in, from 559 down to 480. Just like Scott said, it allows you, one, to keep borrowing, or if growth stops, it allows you to not borrow.
Take a pause.
Yes. So it's again,
Well,
everything we're doing is trying to be conservative with declining debt service.
And we've talked about that if it comes right down to it, we may be able to shift some of the debt obligation around. So we may, we'll see what the recommendation is from our trustees and financial advisors in the future, but at some point it could come that we shift some utility fund debt back into the general fund, simply because that seems to be the prudent thing to do, right? So we'll see what happens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, it follows our conversation, I believe. All right, so the next actions, have you gone over the calendar?
Yeah, we did, so
Okay.
if it's okay with the council, if you want to proceed, we'll be back here with notice of intention. Ryan will be the one presenting that next on the 13th. And we're just looking for really direction to proceed on that.
Great. All right, thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, I appreciate it. Next item is consider and take appropriate action on a resolution establishing the city's intent to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditures of funds for capital expenditures from the proceeds of one or more series of tax-exempt obligations to... That's what we just did.
Council authorized them, is that historical, or?
What's that?
No, this was the presentation, and the next one is the motion that would carry that through.
I guess.
Do you need direction
Well,
from us?
So, I mean, I think I provided the agenda language. We did want direction from you all
Thank you.
for us to proceed. I'd heard it already, but it certainly doesn't hurt to actually get formal permission to proceed. The first real formal legal action would be on the 13th.
Okay, perfect. I
So
think
you
that-
can make a motion just to authorize the financial advisor to proceed with the debt issue.
but we don't have action on this item.
Okay, then you're fine.
Well, then it say in council authorizing city staff.
Yep.
So we can authorize city staff.
We can? All right. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion for council to authorize city staff, financial advisor, and board and bond council to pursue the financing and other matters related thereto.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Great, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
All right.
All right, now, next item. Consider and take appropriate action on a resolution establishing the city's intent to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditures of funds for capital expenditures from the proceeds of one or more series of tax-exempt obligations to be issued by the city for authorized purposes.
So this speaks to what I said to you a few minutes ago, which is we've already obligated some of these funds, if you want to think of it that way, and we have other planned expenditures. The law allows us to pass what's called a reimbursement resolution that is a notice of intent for the person, for us to go ahead and use these funds for lawful purposes that would be connected to the purposes for which the bonds are issued. So we can't go spend it on things like planning unless planning is part of the potential bond issue. And we've got stated goals and objectives for these bond issues. They're all utilities related, so it's engineering for utilities. There is some planning for utilities, but there's also water system improvements, sewer system improvements, the kinds of things you would expect from a utility bond.
This is something that Clay's not here. Bond council likes to have in place. Gives you the ability to pay yourself back. It doesn't force you to pay yourself back for allowed projects out of the COs. So your first check, in theory, if you've spent some of the money, by the time you get it, now we're not going to get money until March. So it's a long process. If you spent some of that, you could use your funds and immediately pay yourself back for out of the bond proceeds. It'd be your first check that you write is back to the city's coffers.
So it's like what we did with the River Bluff
Yeah, and we'll do it, it's something, I'm just gonna tell you right now, may not have any need to pay ourselves back, frankly, on this particular issue, because of the timeframes involved and what we committed. However, I always think it's just really good practice to do it every time. That way you're covered. If something comes up and you need to write a check, you don't have to say, well, sorry, I'm gonna order those parts later because I have to be able to pay myself back. This allows you to do that.
Great. Any questions? No. So the motion then would be to establish a resolution for the city's intent to reimburse itself for the prior lawful expenditures of funds for capital expenditures from the proceeds of one or more series of tax-exempt obligations to be issued by the city for authorized purposes.
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Safe travels.
All right.
Well, I won't see you on 13th either.
All right, next item is consider and take appropriate action on authorizing the city administrator to negotiate alternative payment methods for water right dedication for Alsatian Oaks development.
So these are some of the items we discussed earlier. This would allow us to, basically, we would allow Alsatian Oaks to go ahead and submit its final plat, and then I will negotiate how we're going to receive payment for the water rights that they owe us in connection to that final plat. This is only for their first area. So this isn't final plat for the entire area. It's only for the phases that are underdeveloped now, which I think are phases 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's about 130 homes or so, and that's what they'll be platting. And I don't believe, I also don't believe that the commercial is included with this plat. That's something they're getting close to being ready to do, but they're doing these things in stages, which is fine.
So the motion would be to authorize the city administrator to negotiate alternative payment methods for water right dedication for Alsatian Oaks development. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Last item, consider and take appropriate action on approving a wholesale power agreement between the city of Castroville and WSC Energy 2, that is LCRA.
I move we approve a wholesale power agreement between the City of Castroville and WSC Energy 2, LCRA.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We are through the agenda in record time, and we are adjourned at 7:45.
Thank you all.
I want to introduce our Detective Newton, who's been silently sitting in the back watching over our proceedings. Yeah. I did pronounce your name right? Newton?
Sure, you got it.
Okay. Sure. We appreciate you being here. We're glad to have you on board. I know that we needed the services of a solid detective, so.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you. No problem. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great